All right, so we are going to be creating figures that move, and Keith Haring is the artist that we are being inspired by. So I have this worksheet here that you can use to help you figure out how to draw different figures, or you can come up with your own position of figure that you like. And so here I have used one from the worksheet, and I drew it 3 times, and I drew it with a pencil first because I made a few mistakes, so I needed to erase, which is why we use pencils first. And then right now I'm just going to go over these figures here with my black marker. Now, when you draw these figures, I want you to draw the same figure and repeat that figure. So I drew this fella here dancing, and I repeated it 3 times total. And I like the number 3 in artworks. It kind of makes more sense when we have odd numbers. So I did 3, and I just kind of made mine almost like a fan. Like I started here and I moved it across. You can make your figures like one upright, one to the side, one upside down. You can make them all just in a straight line. You can make them overlap, or you can make them not touching at all. So you kind of pick how you want to create your figure here. So what I'm just showing you, because I created 3, I did overlap. So like this figure here in the middle, I couldn't draw its entire hand right here because this figure is in front. So this one's going to look a little more behind. And same here with the leg. The leg is going to be a little tucked behind my first figure that I drew. And then here on the third figure, obviously this one's going to be tucked behind the middle figure. Okay, so there's my figures. They're not perfect, but they are good enough for me. And now I'm just going to erase my pencil marks. So from here, I want you to use markers. I want you to color in your figures solid. So I'm going to make this super bright and colorful and happy. And just go and start. Make sure you get cover all the white spaces. You want this to be solid, solid, solid color, because this is the focal point. It's what we're going to focus on first. So when I use markers to color in, I always like to outline my object. I kind of think of it like it's a little fence around the edge, so I won't get outside of my line. So I like to outline like that, and then I'll go in and begin coloring. So now that I have my figures all colored in, I'm going to do some echo lines. So when I say echo lines, it means I'm like going to go around my figure a few times, and I am going to change up the color. So I'm not going to use the same color that I colored in the figure with. So now I'm on the outside of my black line. You can make these thin or thick. You can even jazz them up a little bit if you want to jazz them up. I'm going to make mine a little thick. That means I'm going to go around again and poop up this line, make it a little thicker, because I think that's going to help the figure stand out a little bit more. Have a little bit of the echo line and you have your figures, then you want to start thinking about, well, how can I jazz this up? Where can I put patterns? How can I separate the background into sections? What do I want to do here? So you can go for it, or you can make a plan. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make a large shape behind the figure. And I'm just gonna kind of do curved and points. Almost looks like a comic book bubble. Something like that. And then, so now I've broken up my background into two sections here. So I have this section right behind the figures and then this section around the edge. And so I'm going to play with different patterns here. And I'm just going to explore and go and see where I end up. In these designs, it's going to take you quite a while to do all this if you are doing it with care and you really want it to turn out nice. If you're just slopping down patterns just to go quick, it's not going to look as cool as it should. So as you do these patterns, kind of just get lost in it. Maybe, you know, like listen to music or just put yourself in a good headspace and have fun designing brand new patterns and coming up with new designs and what's going to look good as you work. So as I did this, I didn't really have much in mind. I just kind of started making lines and going with it. And then as I go with it, then I can start to determine, okay, what looks good here? What should I put on this side that it needs? What color does it need on this side? And I can start making more decisions as I was doing. I made this a little thicker of a line to make that stand out a little bit more, because with all of the little spirals I just made around the edge, it got lost. There was too much black around the outside, and so my shape got lost. So that's why I made this a little thicker. So if things are getting lost, make those lines thicker and bolder so they stand out. So even though we have all of these crazy patterns everywhere, my figures that are moving still are the focus because I colored them in solid. They are not patterns, so they are different than everything else in the picture, and that makes our eye drawn to them. So we look at them first because they're nice and bold, then we start moving around and noticing all the other components of the image. Okay, so here is my Keith Haring moving figures artwork using markers.